What's up YouTube? Conzilla here. This is day 23 of my 31 Days of Horror, where I'm reviewing a different horror movie for every day of the month of October. Tonight's film was The Thing. And now this is the 2011 version of The Thing, which is a prequel to John Carpenter's horror classic, The Thing, which is itself a remake of The Thing from Another World, I believe. But anyways, yeah, a lot of people know John Carpenter's film, which has the same name. Basically, this movie is meant to sort of take place right before the John Carpenter film. If you remember the beginning sequence where they're chasing the husky dog from the helicopter, and it's from the Norwegian camp that they later explore in the film. A little bit, they touch briefly on it in the 80s film. Yeah, this film goes all into that backstory of the Norwegian camp and what went down there. We get little glimpses of it in the John Carpenter film, but this is meant to sort of tell that whole story. So yeah, basically, Mary Elizabeth Winstead plays a scientist in the Antarctic, and she gets sort of like contracted by this Norwegian dude who has this big discovery that he wants her to go check out, basically. And of course it's the alien spacecraft from the first film. And then they find the alien specimen and they dig that up out of the ice. And then of course he immediately, wants to get all his hubris out of the way and just get right into it. So he has them drill into the organism to take a skin sample. And then later, while they're all just hanging out or whatever, the ice block heats up enough that the creature is freed from the block of ice. Free to do its thing, going around and replicating people and, shape-shifting. That's pretty much all you need to know about the story. Nothing too crazy there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite know how to feel about this movie. It's not like horribly made, but at the same time, I don't really feel like its existence is super justified. Bit of a strange continuation of John Carpenter's film, just in the sense that it just, it feels like it's really trying to cash in on the name brand, but it doesn't quite have the magic that the original film did. And I will say, I think part of what makes the original film so impactful is the use of practical effects. That's like one of the greatest examples of practical effects in horror. And this version of The Thing is all rendered through CGI, basically. And if you do know a little bit of the backstory of this film, there apparently was a lot of practical effects that were planned and even shot, I believe. But the studio wound up rejecting that and making them replace all of it with CGI, which is pretty disappointing because I think that was a big part of what made the creature from The Thing, work, is the visual style of it that was in the original film. And they definitely try to, preserve that through the CGI, but it just doesn't have the same look. And I will say that the effects in this now look pretty dated already. Definitely very aware that you're watching CGI. It's not very seamless. So yeah. And then as far as the creature itself goes, it sort of seemed a little out of line with the original film to me. Like it very much is like a animalistic, like on the hunt type of creature in this, whereas in the original film it had a totally different vibe, more of like an organism, the way that they sort of deal with it in John Carpenter's film. It doesn't just feel like it's there to kill people, In this movie it's just sort of like, well, it's a horror villain, so it's going around and, slashing everybody up, basically. It feels like it's very much more like hunting, which just seemed a little out of line, out of character to me. And there's not it doesn't utilize the premise for suspense the way the original did, because in the original film there's this sort of great sense of paranoia of not knowing who's human and whatnot. But there's so many times where it just like the creature just reveals itself to the whole group of people in this movie that it doesn't really bank on that premise. So yeah, I don't know. It felt a little bit like the filmmakers here didn't quite understand what made the original film so noteworthy. So it's a little bit disappointing in that regard. Other than that, like I said, it's not like poorly made or anything like that. It looks fine. The performances are all done well enough. It just doesn't quite have the flair that the original film did. So it just feels a little out of place being related to that film, and especially because they just have the exact same title. Yeah, a lot of people might maybe think that this is supposed to be a remake, which at times it almost feels a little bit like a requel, or I mean, obviously it's supposed to be a prequel, but it does seem like they try to pretty much use the same beats from the original The Thing film as far as the story beats. Well, a lot of them just seem to kind of overlap. At least it felt that way watching it, like the discovery and figuring out a test and all of that. So yeah, I don't know. Didn't leave a totally major impression on me. If you've seen this film, definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you thought of this movie. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like. If you want to see more content like this in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I've still got a few films left on my list for the month, so you'll definitely want to check that out. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.